What's up, everybody? I'm Zigaboom. We are just about a month into the launch of Diablo IV, and everyone is still trying to level up characters. Whether you're trying to push through all the different difficulties in the game or level up a character up to max level, leveling is still very important. It gets pretty grindy at the in-game levels, and as someone who's already leveled up a character to level 100, I decided I wanted to go ahead and make a video and put my 2 cents into it and just put that video out. So I've been working on that, and this is not that video, because while I was trying to make that video, I was going into the game and I was doing some experimenting with the amount of experience that you get relative to your character level. And I saw some resources online and it said this and it said that, and I was like, yeah, that seemed about right when I was doing my experience to 100. But as I started testing it and recording some data, I started getting a lot more questions than answers.
Oh shit, buddy, I gotta dig a little deeper.
The results, I think, are super interesting. It will be in an Excel document form, so if numbers aren't your thing, I get it. Feel free to jump ahead to the end of the video where I break it all down and summarize it for that TLDR. Right, welcome to the spreadsheet. If you like numbers, you're in the right place. So really quickly, what the experiment was is I went to World Tier 3 where all the enemies are level 53. I took a level 49 character and I cleared the same dungeon and the same monsters in the immediate area at each level so that I had a good control, and then I got a good enough sample size between all the different monsters here, and then I just recorded all the data with the experience that I got from killing each enemy. So I have the mob name here, simple enough. I have the classes here, and class is something that I've kind of made up myself, and I break it down into lesser, normal, large caster, and uniques. And normal are just like normal enemies, usually humanoids. I have ghouls on here, I have skeletons on here, I have the wargs on here. That's how I would classify a normal mob. I have the large class on here, like the Volkodlak. I'm probably saying that wrong, but I have those, the Revenants, and the Arctic Bear. But the large enemies could be like anything, like Maulers, Oppressors, the Charging Beast. That's what I would refer to as a large monster, ones that have more health. And then I have the large caster. In this case, it's a Blood Magus, which is the vampire caster dudes. There's a few different ones in the game, like shamans and stuff. They're kind of in between a normal mob and a large mob. They're usually casters and have a few more tricks up their sleeves. And then I have unique mobs like Treasure Goblin and the Butcher. So also I have the experience that I gained from each enemy at a particular level, going through here all the way from 49 to 53. And over here, I'll touch back on this later, but I recorded the information if you have an elixir or not. Definitely not, because I made a mistake and definitely did that one on purpose. So just to go through here, let's take the ghoul. I would refer to him as a normal mob. At level 49, I earned 450 experience for killing him. I earned 450 experience for killing him at level 50, so no change there. That was part of the experiment. I wanted to be sure that level 49, or being more than 3 levels lower than an enemy, doesn't change the value. I had read online the 3 levels higher was the cap. That seems to hold true. That was important for me to test. At level 51, I earned 435 experience. At level 52, I earned 421 experience. And at level 53, I earned 364 experience. So that's how I recorded that. And I think from that data right there, you can really see a big jump from level 52 to level 53. So from when they were 1 level higher than me versus when I was the same level as them, there was a pretty big jump of experience earned there, which I'll touch on later. That'll be the next little segment I jump into here. But one thing, when I was recording all this, the thing that really jumped out at me, that I was starting, that really like hit me, and I noticed, and then it led me to doing all this, was the value of experience, or the experience value from all the elites. So really quickly, I'm going to go through here and I'm going to highlight all of the elite monsters here. So if you look at that real quickly, there's something very obvious and very interesting about this. They all give the same amount of experience. I did not expect this when I started doing this, and this is what got me intrigued. So I guess it's important to give the context that it is believed that experience is based on the amount of health that enemies have. There's no way to confirm this because we can't see the HP values in the game, but it does seem to make sense, and I think that this kind of backs up that notion. It would make sense that all the elites go to the same amount of health, but all these elites on here have totally different health pools when they're not elite. So let's take the skeleton here. The skeleton, again, a normal, he only gives 726 experience when he's non-elite, and then when he's an elite, he jumps up to that 4,536. We have the Blood Magus here, and when he's a normal, only 1,132, but he gives more than that skeleton. And then here we have the Revenant, which is a large monster with a lot of base health, and they give 2264, so they're pretty much just doubling the amount of experience they have in Elite, but all those values are different, but when you jump to Elite, they're all the same. I thought that was really interesting. So, and then very similarly, let's highlight all the minions. There's quite a few minions that I was able to capture data on. So all the minions, also all the same amount of experience, which is also something I did not expect when I was doing this. I knew the minions had more health, but I just kind of found them to be annoying. But when you actually compare them to what the elites give, they give about 60% of what you get for an elite kill, which is a good amount of experience. So if you're running around the world, in my opinion, and you see an elite with 2 or 3 minions, I mean, that's a huge chunk of experience. Like that's just as good as killing, maybe like a pack of 20, depending on the enemy type. Like that's a really good chunk of experience to gather. And even more interesting with the minions was the champions, which I'll highlight now. The champions also give the same amount of experience as the minions, the same exact amount, which was another interesting find. The champions are the monsters that give the resist buff that you start encountering in World Tier 3 and World Tier 4, but they give the same amount as a minion, which is still a really good amount of experience. It's not as good as an elite, but it's very good. But it's good that you're rewarded for that. So another interesting piece of data here that I want to highlight is the amount of experience that you get for a Treasure Goblin. And if you look at this whole list, it is the largest number on here. So Treasure Goblins are given a ton of experience, and this number is actually exactly 2 times what an elite is. So it's basically like killing 2 elites. So, normally Treasure Goblin, usually chasing it for the treasure, but the experience is actually very good on them. And then I didn't kill one at level 49, but if we jump down here to when I was level 52, I got a Butcher encounter, and the Butcher actually gives the same amount of experience as the elites, which I thought was interesting. And considering how long, depending on your build, I mean, if you're late game and you're super decked out, it's probably not that bad, but he has a lot more health than an elite, and he takes a little while. He's not given all that much experience based on his health, so that's where the minions are based on the amount of health that enemies have. They give a certain amount of experience. That is not true when it comes to the Butcher. I don't know about Treasure Goblin. I don't know how to test that, but it might be true. I haven't really paid attention to how difficult or how much health the Treasure Goblin has, because they're running away, and I feel like it's a very discombobulated fight, so it's hard to track that. But I thought that was very interesting. So over here as well, with the level 50 no elixir, I thought this was interesting. Elixirs are supposed to give 5% more, but based on this data, they're only giving 2.5% more. And I don't know if that is because the experience, because of like the verbiage of it, or like I'm doing something wrong in my arithmetic with the math. I'm not a mathematician. I know a little bit, but I thought that was weird. It's exactly half of what the game says it is, so I don't know if it's something I'm misunderstanding about that. If you do understand that and you have any more information on that, please let me know in the comments. I would love to get a different perspective on that, and if I'm wrong, I would love to know why. But based on my experimenting and testing, it was only 2.5% more experience with an elixir versus not with an elixir. Also, kind of related to this, I also, while I was running around, I did some events, and I was curious, the actual completion experience for the events, I was curious how that worked out. And all the events gave the same amount of experience. I only have 4 recorded on here, but I did a lot more, and it was all the same, so I didn't bother writing it down. So all of the events give the same amount of experience, which is about 2.5 times the experience you get for killing an elite. So pretty valuable just to get the completion on that. But as we know, not all events are created equal. Some events are shorter, longer, different mob types, different amount of density as far as elite spawning. Those are definitely not all the same. And like you have events like the Jar of Souls, which you can crush that in like 15 seconds with a good AoE build and be done with it and get it really quick, versus like the Waves of Darkness, you have no choice but to go the whole 90 seconds or 2 minutes, whatever it is, whatever that timer is. So that could be good or bad depending on the density that spawns. But that's the first section of this, and yeah, the big thing there is just the elites all have the same amount of experience that they award. Same with the champions, same with the minions, and then the Treasure Goblin and even the Butcher, all the same, all related to that same flat amount, And the only thing that really matters is the difference between your character and the level of the enemy. That's all that really changes with that. If they're elite, they're going to give us that amount of experience. Champion, minion, all the same. That's what's important from that data. I thought that was really interesting. Noting that in the past couple of days, Blizzard has come out and said that they are going to be normalizing the amount of elites in each dungeon, so they will have roughly the same amount of elites in each dungeon. And with this data, you can see why, since they all give the same amount of experience. But I think it's important to understand this information and to be aware of it, so that as Blizzard continues to make changes and the XP gets shifted around for whatever strategy becomes popular, yada yada yada, it's important to know how the experience works fundamentally at its core. So we also have all the experience that I earned at the different levels, and again, all the monsters level 53. So I also calculated the percentage difference at each level for the experience that you gained. And it's a little bit weird the way I did it and the differences, but I'll explain what I mean here. So I have these numbers, right? And they're all a little bit different depending on each mob and what these numbers represent. So we take here this 3.5%. So we scroll back up to the ghoul. All that's saying is that at level 51, I earned 3.5% less than I earned at 450. That's the way that's calculated. So that's the difference. So I earned, when I was level 51, I got 3.5% less experience than I did at 50. And then again, about the same at 52 versus 51. So those numbers all about the same, but what we really see it drop off a cliff is versus 52 and 53. So when those monsters were the same level as you, you're getting significantly less experience versus when they're 3 levels higher. And that's why I think a lot of people in the community are saying that's that sweet spot, 3 levels higher. And earlier, as we saw, there's no difference. After 3 levels, there's no difference between what you earn. It's the same. So it does not help you to go fight monsters that are 10 levels higher than you. You're not getting any more experience than as if they're 3 levels higher than you. But there is a really big difference if they're the same level as you. Level 53, they were giving me X amount, and then they're giving you about 20% more experience if they're 3 levels higher than you. That's why that's the sweet spot for leveling. And even when they're one level difference here, like, it is a big difference. To get 15% more experience, roughly, just there, and then you're getting a little bit more for each level after that. But as long as they're at least 1 level higher than you. So nightmare dungeons are great because you can automatically set up how high you want the enemies to be, so you can always keep them at least a level higher, ideally 3 levels higher than you. And then helltides, all the monsters that spawn in there are going to be 2 levels higher than you, so that's great. You're automatically going into the sweet spot and you're getting that nice bonus. So what does it all mean? It means that if you're killing a monster that is at least 1 level higher than you, you're going to get a big chunk of bonus experience, about 15%. And if you're killing a monster that's 3 levels higher than you, you're getting about 20% more experience. So it's important to stay in that sweet spot, ideally 3 levels higher than you, but as long as they're at least 1 level higher than you, that's where you're going to really reap the benefits of fighting monsters that are stronger than you. Other thing that's really important from this data, if you're skipping here now, is that all elites give the same amount of experience. All elites, same amount of experience. All minions, same amount of experience. It doesn't matter what mob type it is, how much they give if they're not elite, minion, or champion. When they get bumped up to those titles and those types of mobs, they all give a set amount of experience. Elites give X amount, and then the minions and the champions are giving 40% roughly less than the elites, but it's all the same. And then Treasure Goblins give twice as much as an elite, and the Butcher is the same as an elite. Hope that you find this information helpful, educational, or like me, just find it interesting as hell. I had a lot of fun just going through and finding all these numbers out, and I was very intrigued the more I got into it. Please let me know in the comments if you found anything interesting regarding experience. I haven't done anything with the dungeon bosses. I don't really know how those work, so I'll have to check that out. Thank you so much for watching. This video and experiment did take me a ton of time, so please subscribe and like. It doesn't cost a dime, and it means a ton to me and helps me out so much.